listening to Around Comics. 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 You're listening to Around Comics.
Hour talking about useless bullshit.
Kind of what we've spent, like the better part of a decade doing.
Better part of our lives, as a matter of fact. Yes.
Right.
Yes. I have a pile of shit I can go through here.
I honestly have not been reading that much. I've been doing other stuff, but don't worry about it. I'm sure I'll figure out something. We can just talk holidays.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Right. All right, ready?
Got me in.
In 3, 2, 1.
From Chicago, this is Around Comics, the comic culture podcast, where, like every month or so, we talk about comics. I'm Christopher Neesman, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Brian Salazar. How you doing, sir?
Merry Christmas, everyone! Ho, ho, ho.
Oh. Yes.
We're finally getting an episode. It's like our special holiday.
No. I was like, the last 2 weeks, I was like, so are we going to talk about Joker? But we're not going to talk about Joker, the clown prince of crime, this week because Mr. Tom Caters is off in the hinterlands enjoying his holiday festivities. But Sal and I thought we would get together and spread some Christmas cheer with all of you comic book folk out there. So
I have cookies for everyone. My wife has been on a cookie tear for 3 days straight, baking cookies, and I have one in my mouth right now, a Kolachki.
I have mulled wine.
Ooh, wow, mulled wine. You're really in this spirit.
I live in Wisconsin. They do such things.
Yummy.
It is. It's delicious.
Is it warm? Do you have it warm? Is that what?
It's mulled wine. Yes.
Is that what mulled means?
Yeah. I probably not. It's probably the spice, but then it's served warm and
right?
It's delicious. And you go to the Chris Kindle Mart and you walk around and drink warm mulled wine, and it's delicious.
Well,
and
48
it's why I love
the
upper. It is. It's crazy. We had January in November, and now it's like 55 degrees at the winter solstice. So there's no such thing as climate change.
Fake news.
Fake news. How are you doing, sir? It's the end of your year.
It's actually been crazy. Like I've been super busy, just family and friends and doing things and going places and kids and all that stuff. So it's been a busy month. Honestly, it's been a little too much. That's why we haven't been able to really get together. But all's good.
More than a year. I was driving around. I'd have to drive from Milwaukee to Janesville, and everyone listening out there probably has no idea what I'm talking about. But it's about an hour and 20 minutes from Milwaukee to Janesville, and so I'm driving back from Janesville one night. And they say, coming up in 12 minutes, a big story about Superman revealing his identity. And I was like, oh, comic book story on NPR. I always enjoy these things. And I had no idea that in the comic books that Clark Kent was going to reveal that he was Superman, or actually Superman was going to reveal that he was Clark Kent. The neat part about this was, and this is a little bit of a shout out, halfway through the little story about this, they drop a big shout out and a clip from an interview from Word Balloon with Brian Bendis, and I was like, "Look at the podcast making the NPR."
Oh wow! Look at that! Yeah. Johnny and his the Bendis tapes, all those
making the national news.
Wow, impressive.
Have you heard about the whole Superman thing?
Nope.
Yeah, me either until it was on NPR, and I was like, well, apparently Superman pulled a Spider-Man, and so everybody knows that Superman is Clark Kent because he was tired. I guess the whole backdrop was that he didn't think it was very nice to lie to people about about his identity. So now he's out of the Clark Kent closet.
80 years, and he finally had some sort of moral crisis.
He had an epiphany. Now all of his friends and family are now fucking dead.
Yeah.
But he feels better about himself.
Yeah, Lex Luthor just immediately murdered everyone that ever knew him, or ever worked with Clark Kent. The Daily Planet's leveled, and that's
pretty,
okay.
pretty much. But he feels better about it. It's he stayed on that moral track, and that's what really matters.
Well, Superman is, fighting for relevancy. I think it has been for quite a while. I don't know that that's going to do it, but good luck to him. And I don't think Superman's ever going to go anywhere. But
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Do you think that Superman and the Fantastic Four share a common problem in those two companies, in that they were incredibly successful, popular at a certain time, and they've just had trouble keeping relevance? Because I feel like the Fantastic Four, the Marvel's first family, I feel like they have had trouble keeping relevance, and I feel a little bit the same way about Superman.
Yeah, I think after the 80s and the sort of dark ages where everything kind of went extreme and dark, and in the 90s, and it kind of kept getting more adult comics. Mainstream comics really were being written for the adults that had been reading them when they were kids. And I think Superman is, I think it's tough to write about a character and make him interesting when he has such a large power set. But you don't want to depower Superman, because then what's the point? But I think
I think it's hard because he's about an ideal, and I think that ideals become boring to people. It's like, yes, he's about truth, justice, and the American way, and I think that becomes kind of boring to people. And that's not to say that there haven't been great Superman stories written, certainly during our lifetime, and then even in the last decade. Because I think there have, but I think that the mythos of the character feels antiquated sometimes. Does that make sense?
Well, certainly in this day and age, I think you have, if you're trying to write comic books for 20-somethings or younger, they don't. We've been faced with the reality of what the American way is. What is the American way? What is that any longer? And we've sort of, since Kennedy being assassinated in the Vietnam War and to today, and now we have Trump as president, and sort of
that would be as crazy as like Lex Luthor becoming president, right?
Well, yeah,
that would be insane.
But what I'm saying is that I think like you said, Superman stands for something in sort of this very 1950s idyllic white America, and that's not something that people are particularly interested in. There's a specific set of people in the United States that are still interested in that and think that's relevant, but I think a lot of people are not really into that kind of rose, colored glasses mindset. You know what I mean? I think stories with a character that is about that idealism is a hard sell. I just don't think people are really willing to give that a chance, and we're very cynical these days. I think so. I think it's a tough sell.
and have been for a while. And I don't want to have you watched Watchmen on HBO? Are you done?
Yes.
And I don't want to dive too deep because I know that Tom is going to be back.
I'm
here
well,
I know that Tom, I think we'll record here in a couple weeks, and I know that he's got some thoughts on it. Just real quick, do you like it, love it, hate it?
I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was entertaining. I think that at the end of the day, Lindelof is he's an interesting writer and producer of TV shows, but I think they all sort of have a similar thing where they're a lot about presenting you with this giant mystery and then a revelation and then another mystery and a revelation, another mystery, but not really a whole lot of substance beyond that. I thought it was interesting what they were, some of the things that they touched on, but never really followed up with. And at the end of it,
really?
Yeah, I don't really think that they delved very deep into anything, and I honestly don't think it really had much to do with Watchmen at the end of it. That being said, extremely entertaining, very well done, very well written, but in this day and age when we're all carrying around like tracking devices in our pockets willingly, the idea of who watches the Watchmen is as relevant as ever. And to not really deal with anything that has to do with surveillance but
I mean, it was about race. I mean,
it was about race, but even that wasn't really. It was. Did it? Okay, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Did it make you look at race or racism any differently? Did it give you a new perspective?
No.
Did it investigate it in any way?
It absolutely reinforced preconceived notions of what white nationalists were,
it gave people that.
But here's the thing: it gave a very Rorschach-like look at racism. And the 7th Cavalry was a very black and white look at racism, right?
Yeah, but it was very simplistic. That's my problem. It's
very black and white.
Yeah, it was very simplistic kind of thing.
Rorschach would be, right?
I suppose I don't know if I consider. I think Rorschach. Yeah, I mean his worldview is definitely black and white.
Sure.
But
the 7th Cavalry.
I don't know that means that the show was any good because of that. I don't know what you're trying to like.
No. To go back to your point, did it change my views on are racist bad? No, it didn't. Did it change my views on racism in general?
I just think there's so many things that it could have touched on. It could have worked with. It could have, dealt. I mean, I think it did in the beginning. Like it starts talking about like police brutality, but it never followed through. It deals with racism, but it doesn't really follow through with any of it. It doesn't actually investigate any of it or examine any of it or enlighten anyone to anything about it. It deals with like.
I think it was very Watchmen in that respect because
How
I
so?
think that,
I mean, Watchmen made you re-examine
a lot of
so many things, and this didn't.
Exactly.
Well,
I think from a serial TV show aspect, I think it made people examine things
like what.
Certainly racism. I think it made a lot of people aware of the Tulsa massacre that may not have been aware of that. But
once again, does that give you any sort of different perspective on racism? No, it's just making you aware of something. Well, why not just make a documentary then? That's what I'm saying. Like to me, Watchmen was about as much as Rorschach was black and white in his worldview. The characters were all about the gray areas of who's in power, who has the right to be in power, and how does that affect the everyday lives of Americans and people in the world.
I think a larger view was about justice.
I mean
that's the.
I think it was picture. Questioning justice, like what is justice and who has the right to dispense it.
Yes, absolutely.
But that wasn't really delved with in this TV show in any way. It didn't.
I think it was. You look at footage justice, and was his dispensing of justice, was it worthy? Was it not? And then ultimately,
wait, whoa. When did they ever give you any sort of thought that it was not? All they did was set up how simplistically evil the people he was fighting against deserved to be.
And he was a miserable, old, decrepit cripple at the end of it. Did it serve him well?
But they never even examined that whatsoever. I mean, he wasn't.
I
don't think he was very miserable. He was pretty happy. He seemed like he was.
Through her flashback, I mean, he lived a miserable life.
Why? Because he was black and white people are horrible. That had nothing to do with whether or not he was trying to dispense justice. or being. There never showed any downside to him being hooded justice. Or making it. The only thing they only showed a downside to him trying to be doing it as a policeman. They showed it that was negative because he was surrounded by racist policemen.
Yeah, he couldn't do it as a policeman. He had to
But that's what I'm saying. It's such a simplistic take on it. Like, if you would have just taken that and sort of examined that deeper and gone into it. That was the 1950s
take. And then you get his granddaughter who has an updated, like, post-Vietnam War in that reality, who takes on this new persona that has to, update that, even unknowingly update that vision of doling out justice.
Yeah, but there was never any downside. She wasn't flawed in any way. From it, there was no. I mean, that's the thing. Like, all the characters from the original Watchmen are all flawed characters, and it's a re-examination of superheroes. Of comic books.
Do you think that Sister Night wasn't flawed enough?
I don't think they ever showed her as being flawed in any way. I don't think they ever.
She was definitely the protagonist and the moral through line for the story.
Yeah, and it was very simplistic. It was very much a simplistic. She's right. She's going to deal with these things, and she's going to win in the end. It was very simplistic. That's to me. That's fine. It was entertaining. It was very. I'm not trying to say it wasn't entertaining. I just it wasn't. It didn't have much to do with Watchmen, other than it was set in that world, and he wanted to sort of rehash it and course correct it and try and fix what he thought were problems with the original comics.
Oh, that's an interesting take. I don't know if I agree with it, but that's an interesting take. I don't think it was a course correction. I think it. Okay,
he said as much himself.
No,
this is a remix. That's what he called it.
You go back and you say, hey, they're going to create a series that takes place 30 years after the conclusion of the Watchmen comic in continuity. And my first reaction is, oh shit, this is going to be terrible.
Well, I mean, I didn't know it was going to be 30 years.
Fucking surprised.
Yeah, like I said, it was very watchable and entertaining. It could have been anything. It didn't need to be Watchmen. There was no purpose of it being Watchmen.
Boy, but man, it was so. For a Watchmen fan, for a comic book fan that knows that comic, it was tied. They
gave you tons of Easter eggs. But
they walked a damn near perfect line of tying it to the original material, but also making it accessible for people. They tied in the goddamn giant squid. And made it make sense. I think made it make sense. I mean, I know the story, but I think if you had approached that story without having read it, it would still be accessible, but they still connected it to the comic in a way that made sense. And I think that's a huge achievement.
I found it kind of predictable. I mean, I literally guessed like 75% of the things that they presented as mysteries. I had, figured out in the first episode that John wasn't on Mars. I figured out that Adrian was trapped. I figured, you know what I mean? Like, it was, like I said, it was entertaining. It was a very entertaining, well-crafted show. It was a very good television show.
You didn't find it challenging?
I didn't find it Watchmen-esque in the sense that it didn't it didn't challenge me in any way. It didn't give me any new perspective on anything. It did not make me re-examine anything or enlighten me to anything. It was this,
Do you want to see a second season?
I don't really care. No.
And Lindelof has been like, I don't know if we need to make one. I think that was kind of his statement at the end, is like, we kind of did what we wanted to. I don't know if we'll see a second. HBO is going to want one because
somebody will make it. I don't know if it'll be Lindelof, but someone will. And
someone will.
It'll get worse and worse, and because I mean, if anything, what it reinforced to me was that Alan Moore is still to this day the greatest comic book writer that ever lived. And
it's a fantastic storyteller.
And
Absolutely.
well, and people just still don't really grasp Watchmen. I think as much as Lindelof, put all the Easter eggs in and used all the characters, and I think he did an excellent job of like going, okay, where would these characters possibly be 30 years from now? But I mean, even if you look at the characters he introduced, they were just weak copies of the characters from the original. I mean, you had basically the same characters over again. I mean, it was rather mundane in that sense of like you have this entire. Well, you have Sister Knight is Hooded Justice. It's like
sure.
You have what's his name, Mirror Face, whatever, Looking Glass is Rorschach, and I mean,
do you know who you are right now?
Who am I?
You're Laurie Blake. It's like, we fucking been here. God damn it.
Well, it was. Listen, I watched every episode.
Was she amazing?
She was great. Yeah, she was. She was
maybe the best part of the series.
Well, Regina King. I mean, is
Regina King was
terrific.
And
I would have. I just wish they would have sort of picked one thing and just delved into that more. They just never really, like, once it kind of got revealed that it was white supremacists and that's what it was, then it became kind of boring. You know what I mean? Like, and you never really, like, they were such cardboard cutout bad guys at that point. And there was no...
I'm going to have to agree with you there that once the reveal was made, it's those characters stopped having any sort of depth.
And that's the problem with Lindelof shows.
But
as the revelations come...
But at that point, Lady True became the villain that was interesting.
Yeah, but she was just Adrian Veidt 2.0. And once you realized that she was... You know what I mean? Like, once that came out, that's who she was, okay, well, this is boring. What was her motivation for doing what she was doing? What was her actual, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't even really give you a good, solid reason for her being the villain or doing what she was doing. They told you, but it was so weakly done at that point in the last episode. You know what I mean? That it's just like, oh, okay, well, this is not, to me, it just, like I said, if I don't need someone to explain to me that racism is bad. Like, I don't need 12 or 9 episodes.
You are in the low percentile.
No, I don't think I am, and I don't think that the people that might need that aren't going to fucking watch it, and they're certainly not going to learn anything from it.
People need to know that don't have HBO subscriptions.
Well, that's racist, I think, right there. That's kind of classist.
That's nothing to do with race.
That might be classist.
It had nothing to do with race.
But I just, like I said, I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it was fun. I thought it
enjoyed
was
it. Enjoyed the shit out of it.
I enjoyed the shit out of it. Is it Watchmen? Is it anywhere in the same fucking
Did you
ballpark?
ever expect it to be? I just wanted it not to suck.
Oh, well, yeah, it definitely didn't suck. But my biggest problem is that people then, like, people watch it and they're like blown away by it, and it's like, do
you know what my reaction is when people say it was so good? Do you know what I tell them?
What?
Go read the comic.
But they won't. They're never going to read the comic, and even if they do, they won't probably comprehend it.
But does that bother me? No, I tell them go read the comic.
Yeah, I don't really care. I mean, whatever, it is what it is. I was hoping. I guess I was just hoping for it to be better. I was hoping for it to be monumental.
If you're gonna hope for Watchmen to be better than what this series was,
but it could have been. It easily could have been.
Alan Moore has washed his hands of it. I have bad news for you.
Oh, but it could have been. That's the problem. It easily. It was pretty damn good, but it could have been so much better if they would have. Instead of
I'm the cynic because I'm like, oh, but God, it could have been so much worse.
Well, certainly, yeah. I mean,
it could have been. Sal, could have been so bad. They actually said something. They actually did something and said something, and it was well acted and directed.
Did they say something? What did they say?
It's racist.
I mean, what did you walk away from it? Racism's bad? Oh,
Racism's
wow. Okay.
Bad.
Wow.
Fucking don't take that shit for granted anymore, dude. Seriously.
Okay. All right.
Don't
Yeah,
take that
because
shit
it's
for granted.
children.
Because most people don't fucking understand that.
I think you're exaggerating greatly.
I'm not exaggerating. There's another series that came out. We'll move on. We'll wait for Tom to come back. Racism is bad, by the way, people.
Yeah, don't forget racism. Don't go out and be racist. It's bad.
Yeah, don't be racist.
Bad for you.
It's bad, and it's bad for
you. We just did everything that they did in 9 episodes.
Yes, racism is bad, and it's bad for you, and don't do that. And
not nearly as entertaining, though.
And don't assume that people know that, because they don't.
People don't know racism is bad.
Fucking racist.
Racists know that. Listen, murderers know that murder is bad. They still do it. Racists know that racism is bad. They don't care. They actually sort of enjoy the fact that it's bad. That's I think where you're wrong.
I'm whatever. Okay. Racism bad. There was a very interesting comic happening that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, because I don't listen to people talk about comic books, but something that was kind of neat. About a month ago, Mark Miller, who I think Sal and I would both agree has a great ability to tell an interesting story, and he's also a great closer in stories. They released through Image Comics a complete 4-issue series on one day. Were you aware of this?
I was not.
He released with one of our favorite artists, and I know that you'll agree with this, Eric Canetti.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
You like Eric Canetti.
Yeah.
They did a 4-issue series of Chrononauts, and released because it's a time travel story, they got really fucking creative, and they released all 4 issues on the same day.
So the idea was, because it's time travel, we're going to drop it all.
Yes.
At the same time, because there is no time. There is no
time.
Okay. Very John Dr. Manhattan-esque.
I think it was. It's Mark Miller, and I have a lot of money now, and people will buy my books, so we're going to drop all 4 of them on the same fucking day.
Fuck it, just send it out there.
And it's really good. It was 4 issues, and I believe that and because I'm a horrible comic book fan these days, I believe there may have been a previous Chrononauts series. I'm going to have to look it up.
There was, yeah. I think it was,
yes.
I want to say that the artist of it was, what's his name? The guy that did Batman White Knight, Sean Murphy.
Sean Murphy?
I think it was Sean Murphy, the original artist on the first series.
He's great.
Yeah.
What he's doing, is he doing what, Batman White Knight now?
Well, he did the first series of White Knight, and then he did a second one, which is called Batman White Knight something. I don't know what I don't I haven't caught up to it, so I don't remember. Yes.
Yeah. It was Sean Murphy did the first volume, and so I need to go back. Don't be afraid to jump into the second series. It's a Mark Miller action adventure series. You don't need to know that much. You jump into it, and they're traveling through time. They're trying to beat up bad people, and actually, what they're trying to do is get it. So this is such a great Mark Miller thing, is that they're basically looking for venture capitalists.
Okay.
Because they can travel.
You mean Mark Miller is?
I think he understands the venture capitalist game, and I think that he has a great feel for the last 15 years of the Silicon Valley chase for money.
Are you talking about in the book or in real life? I'm a little confused.
No, in the book.
Oh, so the Chrononauts are after Okay.
So they can travel back through time.
I thought you meant Mark Miller is looking for venture capitalists to invest in Mark Miller. I didn't know
Well,
what you meant.
that's probably true too, but I
Yeah.
think he should because this is going to be a Netflix series. I think he's got Mark Miller has, we talked about this before. Out of all of the comic book creators in like the last like 20 years, I would say like at the top of the mountain, Mark Miller is sitting there laughing at everyone.
Well, he's definitely been extremely successful. I mean, he was purchased by Netflix.
Yes,
like that's
yes.
not.
He has an exclusive deal with Netflix.
Yeah.
And has been incredibly successful. We love his comics ever since probably, I think The Authority is probably when we were all like, oh, this dude is fucking for real.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, he had done, I'm trying to think, he's so long ago, but yeah, that definitely The Authority was a big part for me.
And I think mainstream, probably The Ultimates is probably what really stuck. Because let's look at it.
The same thing to some degree. Ultimates
is kind of the same thing, but from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that universe does not exist in the way that we think of it without his vision of the Ultimates.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he definitely.
That is the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a lot of ways.
You think?
Nick Fury.
Well, yeah, Nick Fury, but that's just.
I think his vision of Thor was absolutely.
Thor was insane. What are you talking about? His vision of Thor was insane. Like he was a crazy person.
Yeah, and that's how it was in the first Thor movie.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
He wasn't insane. He
didn't know he was Thor.
He knew he was Thor. No one else knew he was Thor.
Well, but it's absolutely taken from the Ultimates version of that. Hawkeye, the Ultimates. It's the Ultimates. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is the Ultimates. Hawkeye is his version of Hawkeye.
This is obviously suck Mark Miller's dick episode of Around Comics. So that's fine.
No. I think that without the Ultimates, the Marvel Cinematic Universe would look very, very different.
Maybe yes. I think absolutely had a big hand in it. I don't know if it's sort of an exact replica of what he did. I think there's some big differences, and it's much darker in the Ultimates. I think than especially Captain America is much more gymnastic and a different type of person in the Ultimates than he is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh yeah, but I think if you were going to say this version,
Iron Man is not really much very similar. I don't think to some degree, but not. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. played it much more. Jovial.
I think it's a soup. And I think that the Ultimates are a big ingredient in the soup.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
Are we done sucking his dick?
I was not sucking his dick. I was saying that he's done some nice fucking work, Sal.
I'm just kidding. All
right.
The thing to me, I just saw a picture of him.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, wait.
Alan Moore got a big workover earlier.
I didn't talk about Alan Moore like that. I just
respond to Mark Miller.
I didn't say he. Well, Alan Moore is responsible for the entire idea of comic book movies, existing. If you want to get really. Deep into it. But anyway, what I was going to say about Mark Miller.
You want to go balls deep?
Have you seen? Yeah, I'm going to go all the way down. All the way down. Have you seen a picture of Mark Miller lately?
I have not.
It's funny. I always kind of remember him. I haven't seen him in a long time. The last time I actually physically saw him.
Drunk on a in a hotel room.
Yeah.
On a whatchamacallit, patio.
Yeah.
It could barely, make three sentences together like now.
But now
he was just like, yeah, I'm going to leave.
Yeah, you drove him out of there. Now he's starting to sort of look like your Scottish uncle. He just sort of looks like this guy who's,
as he should.
It's just funny. It's just, wow. Yeah, he's an old guy now. It's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
We're all guys now.
We are all old guys now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so there's my little throughout Chrononauts. It was a lot of fun. But the VC thing. So they can travel back in time, but they can't travel forward, and so they're trying to get investors to keep pumping money into their company so they can eventually figure out how to travel forward in time, which is like their big thing. And so then they can come back and unlock like scientific secrets and that kind of stuff.
Well, it's
but
sort
all
of the
like
tech industry in general. It's like, hey, just keep giving us money until we figure this out, and then somebody buys us and you make money.
It is like this really kind of funny look at the tech industry because they have unlocked the key to traveling back in time, which is this great thing. And people are just like, that's great. We're not going to give you any more money until you can go forward in time and bring us back all the great secrets. And so it is like this great race for them to keep getting money to fund their experiments so they can travel forward in time, and then that gets unlocked and it brings down a whole shitstorm of other problems for them.
That's a really great idea, like, you know,
isn't it?
That encapsulates the entire sort of, you know, tech and financial world and how big a bunch of scumbags they all are.
Yes.
And thieves and fucking con men.
We have done this amazing thing, and they're like, okay, that's great, but we're not going to give you any more money until you can do more for us to make us more money.
Well, the next thing will be weed. That's going to be the next bubble.
Well, you live in Illinois. I live in Wisconsin. I'll be coming down to visit you January 2nd.
There you go. Yeah, so let's have a good time. It's going to be a fun new year for sure.
It's going to be a fun new year in Illinois, and I'm going to have to watch that Border Patrol. It's going to be funny.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen here. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm also a little concerned, but
cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, they opened some genius in my neighborhood opened up it was a medical marijuana place a year ago. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's going to also sell
it'll be recreational,
but they were brilliant about it. They address for the place is 420 Stone Road.
Of course it is.
And it is
of course it is.
Right? And it is walking distance to a White Castle. So they're a genius. Someone is a genius.
420 Stone Road.
420 Stone Road.
Are you shitting me?
Nope. Somebody thought that out. Come on, that's some.
Yes.
And they say stoners are dumb. You know, I mean, right there.
There was a band when I was in college, and their the name of the band was 420 in Progress.
There you go.
Great fucking band name.
That's a good one. I speaking of music, I went to Memphis. Over Thanksgiving, yeah, and I went to.
So my favorite story from this is that you got a tattoo at a tattoo parlor that is owned by the bassist of one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, I went to Sun Records or Sun Studio. I had to, being a fan of Elvis and Johnny Cash and that whole era of music. I had to go down to Sun Studio and take the tour, and that was really cool, real fun and interesting, and kind of being around that whole thing and being in the studio and holding a microphone that Elvis used, a guitar that Johnny Cash had used, and we there's a large picture on the wall of the very famous picture of the $1 Million Quartet of Johnny Cash and Elvis and
that's awesome.
Jerry Lee Lewis and Sam Perkins, and they're sitting in front of a piano, and Elvis is at the piano, and the rest of them are standing around it. And there's this huge picture on the wall, and it's right behind the actual piano that they took the picture at. And so me and my family actually recreated the picture. My son had the idea of like, hey, let's sit and stand in the same
that's awesome
position. Yeah, it was pretty fun. So we did that, but then I'm like, you know what, I wanted to get a tattoo, so right around the block, right, literally around the corner, diagonally, if you went from Sun Studio diagonally across the corner, there's a tattoo parlor called Bluff City Tattoo that's been there about a year, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go in there and get a tattoo, see if I can get a tattoo real quick. And I did, but as I was waiting, I'm talking to the guy sitting, there's this big kind of burly looking dude sitting there. And
I would have freaked out.
I had no idea. I mean, nicest guy in the world. He's just covered in tattoos, And he just starts chatting. We just start talking, and I'm sitting there waiting for the tattoo artist, and we're talking, blah, blah, blah. And super nice guy, very, very friendly dude. And we're talking about kids and family and tattoos and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And once or twice throughout the thing, he mentioned something about music or touring or whatever. And I'm like, oh, are you in a band? And he's like, yeah, and he mentioned the band. I'm like, I don't know who that band is, but I'm like, I bet Chris knows who this band. I'm like, I wonder if he knows this band, because they sounded like, the way he made it sound. They were a working band, like they were nationally.
They're absolutely a working band,
touring band, and they had been around for a long time. But I just had never heard of them, and but he was a super awesome dude, and so I got the tattoo and everything. I'm like, hey, if next time you come to Chicago to play, I'll come and see you guys. And it turns out it was the bass player from that band. I can't even remember the name of the band now. What's the name of the band?
It's Lucero.
Lucero, yeah.
Yeah, it was John Stubblefield.
Yes, super nice guy, and I had no idea. But so he owns the tattoo parlor, him and another guy, and he's like, whenever I'm not touring, I just hang out here and bullshit with people and do paperwork, and he kind of takes care of the place when he's not touring. So it was kind of. So
you want to know an interesting comic tie-in?
Sure.
All right. So John Stubblefield is the bassist for Lucero, which is one of the great working bands in the United States. They recorded a record called 1372 Overton Park.
Okay.
And there is a track on that record called The Devil and Maggie Chascarillo that is based on Love and Rockets.
Oh, look at that.
It all comes back.
Wait a minute. I have another Love and Rockets tie-in. Somebody just brought Love and Rockets up to me the other day, and I'm like, oh, that's a comic book. They're like, really? I only know that they just knew the band.
Oh, the band. Yeah, sure.
And I was like, no, that's that was from a comic, but I can't remember who, where. But well, that's interesting.
So Love and Rockets 27 is my favorite comic book cover of all time. I have a T-shirt of that cover that I wear to every Lucero show that I go to, and they notice it every time I go there.
Is that the one where it's them on a stage playing? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I know the cover. Sure.
It's a phenomenal cover. And Jaime Hernandez talks about how he started drawing that cover, and he started with the foot, and everything came from the foot position on that cover. But Ben Nichols, who is the lead singer of Lucero, is a Love and Rockets fan. He is he's also he's done, oh God, who did Blood Meridian? I'm blanking. Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah. So
he did a solo record that Zach Crucy is a huge fan of this record. Our buddy who actually has a book about Steve Ditko coming out. But Zach's
man in Michigan.
Man in Michigan. He's a huge fan of Ben Nichols, and he did a book, or he did a record based on the Cormac McCarthy book Blood Meridian.
Well, there you go. Look at all that. It's all circular. It's all
just all swirls together.
Well, next time they come in, I'll introduce you to him. He was really
you jerk.
We're buddies now,
So. Fucking hate you.
Isn't that weird? Like I'm just like, I bet Chris loves this band, like, because they just sounded like a kind of band that you would like, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell him I just met this guy, and he's probably gonna freak out.
Yeah, yes. I'm a huge Lucero fan and a huge Ben Nichols fan. So I would have been a little jealous.
And I was just like, hey, dude, thanks for the tattoo.
So that Ben Nichols record is called "The Last Pale Light in the West."
The Last Pale Light in the West,
and it's amazing.
Very cinematic.
You would actually like it, I think. It's dark desert highway music.
Okay, sure.
I think you would dig it. That's how I describe it. It's dark.
When you say that, that makes me think of the Eagles. So I don't know,
No.
On a dark
it's like
desert highway.
no. If the Eagles had some balls,
Oh,
it would be Ben Nichols and The Last Pale Light in the West. It feels like a. It feels like a Western should feel like.
Okay.
It's like where you would like
Once Upon a Time in the West. Sergio
like
Leone kind of
Unforgiven. Unforgiven.
Okay. All right.
It's a little bit. I mean, it's Cormac McCarthy, so it's fucking dark, right? So yeah, it's fantastic. And Zach Crucy will email you and tell you how awesome that book and this record is.
That might dissuade me from. No, I'm just kidding.
It will not. It will not.
I bought a record the other day. I bought an album, an actual
vinyl
record the other day. I don't even own a record player.
I've been buying vinyl, but you would say, of course you are, because you're a hipster douchebag.
You're a hipster douchebag living in Wisconsin. No, I bought a couple. I have decided I am going to start listening to some vinyl.
It's very cathartic.
Say that again?
It's very cathartic.
Yeah, I think it's, here's the thing. This is what I decided I was going to do it, is that I wanted to make time to listen to more music, because I find myself rarely listening to music. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to like make it a bit of an event and sort of make a ritual of it, so that I can kind of get in the habit of doing it, but also enjoy it more, because I sort of like that sort of thing of like a habitual sort of, as a collector too, like the idea of going, there's a really nice little used bookstore / used record store by my house, not very far away. So like I always go in there and buy used books, but so the other day I went in and I started digging through the albums, and as a comic book collector, or I would say a former comic book collector, because I don't really collect comics anymore, the idea of like digging through and trying to find stuff, like, ooh, and I found I think it was $6, I found the double LP of the Shaft soundtrack.
Very nice. I also own that record.
I gotta buy that.
And here, this is a point of pride. Richard Roundtree, who was Shaft, went to my college. He is an SIU Carbondale alum.
Look at that.
And I met him, and we have talked about it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I went to SIU."
Wow, look at that.
Amazing.
Nice.
It's amazing. That's a great soundtrack.
So I'm waiting for my actual record player to come in, but I don't have one yet. But it's on its way.
Come up for a Bucks game, and I'll give you my old record player.
I just ordered one. I don't need one. I want. Well, here's the thing. I wasn't gonna go as far as I'm gonna put a record player, like an amp and some old speakers in my basement. I'm like, fuck that. There's technology. I don't really care about the perseverance of sound quality of analog. So I bought a record player that has Bluetooth output. So I can just put my Bluetooth headphones on and put a record on and not have to worry about disturbing my family and all that stuff. So I'm officially old.
So of that era, and certainly in the blaxploitation mold, but new and updated. You have the Netflix, right? And it's not Netflix; it's the Netflix, because we are old. You have the Netflix, right?
I have the Netflix.
Have you seen Dolemite Is My Name?
Oh yes, of course, sure. Eddie Murphy, yeah, absolutely.
Like legitimately, maybe my favorite movie of the last year.
Oh wow, that's big. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
So good. I don't think
it's my favorite movie of the last year, but
Eddie enjoyed the shit out of that movie. He was fantastic. Yeah. Here was the big surprise for me. It was like, oh, Eddie Murphy's doing Dolemite is how I came into it. And so I was expecting funny. I was expecting like ridiculous. It was actually a really good and poignant movie that made me laugh. But it was like I kind of caught myself getting emotional a few times.
Oh, for sure. He does. Obviously,
really good movie.
It's a very good movie, and it's a tribute to Rudy Ray Moore. I mean, I think
Yes.
you obviously Eddie Murphy has a deep feelings for Rudy Ray Moore, and I think he really did Rudy Ray Moore justice because I
Yes.
think if I think most people that either know of Rudy Ray Moore or know of the Dolemite films
Hmm.
probably don't have necessarily a high opinion of Rudy Ray Moore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I think you look at those films and it's like, oh, this is kind of a joke. This guy, isn't a great actor or anything. He's
They
not.
don't. They
This
don't know the history of the
he's a
touring vaudevillian performer.
or just the
Yeah.
perseverance and work that it
Sure.
took for this guy to do what he did, and that's what I think that movie really. And I didn't know any of that. I mean, I knew I had seen the Dolomite movies, and they're funny and they're fun, and they're ridiculous, and he's this ridiculous character. But then you watch this film, and obviously Eddie Murphy has deep love for Rudy Ray Moore and appreciation for what he did, and you see the story behind it. It's like, oh, this is really somebody that you should respect, and regardless of the final product and how good or bad or where you would rank it as a film, that's kind of regardless of the appreciation you should have for him and his perseverance of just wanting to create something and do something and be better than maybe his
Hmm.
circumstances gave him. And that's, how do you not respect that and appreciate that? So,
I
yeah,
loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
my favorite movie of the year, I think, was probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, but that's not a shot. Quentin
I've
Tarantino.
not seen it yet. It's on the list for Christmas Day. Um,
I've seen it 4 times already. I've watched it twice in the theaters,
yeah, really. It's
twice on
that good.
Blu-ray.
It's that good. It's that good.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
don't even
you
know it's my favorite Quentin Tarantino film, but
yeah.
it's his, I think it's,
It's the movie he wanted to make.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
so well done. Like, I think it's a step for him in filmmaking. Like, this is all of his tools, all of his everything that he's learned, everything that he's figured out as a filmmaker, all of his sort of weapons, and because this is sort of an original thing that he puts together, and he puts it together so well and beautifully, and the acting, and I think Leonardo DiCaprio is unfucking believable in it.
Oh, he's
Like,
awesome.
he is so good, but there is a scene in it. There is a specific scene in it where. Do you care if I kind of not that I'm going to spoil anything, but
No,
just
that's
sort of
okay.
go
Go
into it a
ahead.
little bit? There's a scene in it where he's a basically a 1950s actor, good looking sort of TV actor guy. He played in this black and white TV show called Bounty Law, where he was a cowboy hunting down bounty hunter kind of guy. And then he did a couple of movies. But now it's the 60s and sort of Hollywood has moved on from his type. He's square jawed, very clean cut, good
Hmm.
looking 50s leading man. And now it's the 60s and everybody's kind of looking for more of a Steve McQueen, that Al
Sure.
Pacino, kind of that kind of little dirtier hippie kind of character. And he's not that guy. And he's trying to figure out how to fit in or how to get jobs. And a lot of his jobs now are playing heavies on other TV shows. Like they bring him in and
Okay.
they let their star beat up this guy because he's a well-known name, and so you kind of give gravitas to your actor or your show by having a name, but he's the bad guy and he gets beat up. But there's this one show the show that he just gets hired to do, and the director of it believes in him as an actor and doesn't want him to just be his face. He wants him to actually act, and it's a very small part of the show, or the movie. But there's this scene where he's running through this scene, and he's running through it with the guy who played Raylan Givens.
Oh, Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant, and it's a western. And
Hmm.
Timothy Olyphant is the hero of the show. And there's this really great scene where they're in a bar and he's going through it, and he's doing really well in the scene, like he's acting, and you can tell he's pulling it off. But then all of a sudden he fucks up and he forgets his line, and you see him fall apart very subtly. Like he starts all of a sudden overacting in the scene because now he's self-conscious, and it is so fucking well done. Like I couldn't believe, like watching it. I've watched it over and over again because it's just like, oh my God, he is so good in this scene of like seeing him go from this sort of confident actor to fucking up and then chewing up the scenery because he's self-confident. And it's kind of a subtle thing that he does, but it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like it's really an amazing performance by him. But the movie's great. The movie's just awesome, and Tarantino is, I think, at his best. It's so not Pulp Fiction. It's so not,
Inglourious Bastards.
It's not Inglourious, but it's the evolution of Quentin Tarantino as a filmmaker. I think it's really he's gone beyond, to some degree, the shocking use of the N-word, and I mean, while there is violence in it, it's kind of at the end of it, and it's not the mainstay of the film, and I think it really shows sort of a different kind of Quentin Tarantino film. But I really loved it. I thought it was great.
Nice. And we'll talk little movies before we get back to comics or not. It doesn't matter. No. It's probably a new to me movie. I think it came out a few years ago, and it was on Amazon Prime. I'm flipping around. Have you seen Elvis and Nixon?
I have not watched it yet.
So it's hard for me to want to watch Kevin Spacey movies right now.
Oh, is he in it? Who does he play? Nixon?
He plays Nixon.
Oh,
and he
really?
Plays Nixon very, very well. That's the only reason I watched it, is because I hate fucking Nixon, and I figure if I'm going to hate an actor, I might as well hate an actor while he's hating, why he is playing a character that I hate in real life. So
Nixon was a good president.
He was a fucking cunt. So
he opened up China.
Not, oh God, yeah. See where that got us. Détente. But it reaffirmed one of the things that I've known for a while, and that is Michael Shannon is fucking awesome.
I don't know who's Michael Shannon. I don't even know who that is. You'll have to remind me.
Michael Shannon plays Elvis in this. He was in Boardwalk Empire as the FBI agent, who was very straight-laced.
Oh yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
I gotta go see Knives Out because he's
in Knives, which we loved. We Marta and I saw Knives Out.
I gotta go see that.
It's, if you like Agatha Christie style.
Sure, yes, I love a good murder mystery.
If you love a good Agatha Christie style murder mystery, you will love Knives Out. And he plays one of the brothers in the family. He's also, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was
great in Boardwalk Empire. I mean, he's always creepy. He always plays some sort of.
He's creepy,
but he's so engaging as a creep. Even he was in The Shape of Water. He was in.
Yes.
Well, he was in Man of Steel, but that sucks.
He's an unnerving.
Yes, that's a great word.
Yeah. And he plays a very unnerving, make you uncomfortable Elvis. He plays a perfect aging Elvis in this movie because he is in his own world, and he, even in the presence of the president of the United States, he's the king.
Well, that was definitely Elvis. I mean, he was the king no matter where he was at, my man. And I might have a hard time watching it because I kind of.
It's so good. It's so good.
I know.
And it's all about Elvis wanting to set up a meeting with Nixon.
He wants to be an FBI agent, man.
He wants to be an FBI agent.
DEA agent. Didn't he want to be a DEA agent?
He wants to be an FBI agent at large. And he wants to work undercover because he sees how drugs are ruining the youth of America. And he's very concerned.
Listen, Mr. President, I got to tell you, drugs are bad, man.
Dude, you need to watch this movie. As much of an Elvis fan as you are, you will walk.
But here's the thing:
you walk and you'll be like, Michael Shannon, fucking nailed it hard.
Here's the thing,
so good, so good.
I kind of imagine that Elvis died immediately after the 1969 comeback special. Like right after that, he died and didn't exist after that. I have a hard time. I love the younger, cool, amazing Elvis, and it really kind of hurts me at this point to sort of see, the big fat bloated Elvis
for the scene where Michael Shannon as Elvis is trying to teach President Nixon karate in the Oval Office. I'm a karate man. It's fucking worth it. It's so fucking worth it. Do you know karate?
All right. No, I don't know karate.
It's worth the hour and 26 minutes out of your life.
I know jujitsu.
I know you know jujitsu.
What is it on? Is it on Netflix?
It's on Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, I got Amazon. I got the Amazon.
You have the Amazon?
I do have the Amazon.
It's good. It's good. So yeah, what are you looking forward to in the new year as we approach the end of 2019, which is weird to say.
Jesus, I haven't even thought about it.
A really good Batman story,
or a really good Batman story. I don't even. I'll tell you what, I'm still enjoying more than anything. I think my favorite comic on the stands today is still the Immortal Hulk. I think Al Ewing is he's just the right kind of twisted, fucked up person to write that book, and I just love how weird that book is. But I'm looking forward to Mike Allred has some stuff coming out.
What's he doing?
He's doing what is the name of it? It's like Mr. Roboto or something.
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? It's Mike Allred. So he's doing something. I think I want to say March or something. That's coming out. But
I keep and I know that it's really weird that this universe has expanded and become what it is, and it's really kind of freaky that it's gotten as big as it has. Anything that is like Black Hammer, I'm just eating up.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The Black Hammer. I mean, Jeff Lemire's done an excellent job cultivating that universe and expanding on it. And
did you read the Black Hammer JLA story?
I haven't yet. I got to read Black Hammer 45 and the JLA ones. I don't know why, but those ones I just haven't I didn't dive into them yet. But
the Black Hammer 45, and we won't announce this until the next time that we get together because we're still reading the Joker trade paperback, the Clown Prince of Crime.
We are.
But I was real close to picking Black Hammer 45 as my pick. I didn't, but you should read it anyway.
Son of a bitch. All right, I will.
I didn't, but you should read it anyway.
In April, there's a book coming out called Paul is Dead, when the Beatles lost Paul McCartney.
I was going to say, is it the follow-up to the Fifth Beatle?
I don't think it's the follow-up. It's not the same creators.
Not the same creator.
It's Paulo Baron and an Ernesto Carbonetti. But it's a speculative fiction graphic novel steeped in music history and Beatlemania in the forthcoming Paul is Dead. That's coming in April. That looks kind of interesting. I know you're a Beatles fan. Did you see, not to reroute things.
Elvis didn't like the Beatles, by the way.
Elvis, well, man, they were stealing his
thunder, baby. According to this movie.
They didn't. Yeah, they loved Elvis, and
loved Elvis.
I think John or Paul said that they loved Elvis, and then I think they were on something show together. They finally got to meet him, and he was not real fans of them. I mean, they were kicking him off the charts. He was
they were British, and they smoked the dope.
They smoked the drugs, man. Drugs ain't just bad for you. I got to tell you. It's no good for you, man, unless you get them from a doctor, like my doctor. That's the only time
Unless you're taking them in pill form, and then it's
Listen,
completely okay.
my pills are healthy for you. That's what I'm saying. My doctor guarantees me that they're good for me, and I'm
Seriously,
gonna
you gotta
be
watch.
fine.
You gotta watch the movie. You will love it.
I didn't tell you what my tattoo was. Did I tell you what my?
I saw your tattoo.
Oh, you saw the tattoo. So yeah,
Saw
that
the
was
tattoo. Not in person.
TCB,
Digitally.
baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it stood for Tom, Chris, and Brian.
That's exactly it. TCB and the lightning bolt, man, baby. That's it. Tom, Chris, and Brian. That's what people don't know. That was the secret. They think it's Elvis, TCB, taking care of business, but it's Tom, Chris, and Brian. That's
Tom,
right.
Chris, and Brian.
You know it. TCB.
That's exactly. I saw that and I was like, oh, isn't that sweet?
That's right. That's right. No doubt. No doubt.
It's the top.
It's a dual message, depending on who I'm talking to. Any like favorite books of the year other than I know you had 45 Black Hammer 45. Do you have like a top 5 favorite books? Because everybody isn't that like required by podcasters? We have to come up with
I don't. No, I'm still going back and reading things for pleasure. I started reading Wasteland again this year for the second time. I'm doing a second reading of that, which has been that's kind of like my bedside table comic. Reading for some weird reason, a lot of Harley Quinn comics this year.
Really?
Both the serious and the funny. So, which is kind of nice. There's been some of the DC Black Label stuff that's come out that's been pretty good. Frank is going back to Dark Knight. I picked that up this week. I'm looking forward to reading it. Other stuff. You know, there's some. I'm trying to. I got a pile of stuff here. I don't know. No, I'm just reading a lot of Black Hammer.
That's cool, man. No, I was just wondering. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I go back and forth.
Hit Girl, the Hit Girl trades I really like.
Hit Girl, yeah, I've been reading those. The art in most of them are really good. I've been doing the same sort of thing. Like I keep going back and forth between stuff that I've read. I read Watchmen again I actually read the annotated. This is how much of a Watchmen nerd I am. I've read that book so many times that I read the annotated edition of Watchmen, and as I was reading it,
did you argue with it as you were reading it?
I didn't argue with it, but I was adding.
You are wrong.
No, but they definitely missed things that I caught, and I was like, oh, I was actually tweeting. For a while, as I was reading it, I was adding annotations because there was stuff that they didn't catch in it. That's how much of a fucking Watchmen.
Here's my big shout out. I've been enjoying the shit out of them, and not as a collective, but just in general. The DC 100-page Giants.
Oh wow!
Have you been reading any of those?
Are those new? What
there's tons of them. There's Batman. There's Villains. Wonder Woman.
It's all the old stuff, though, right?
No,
they're new.
Yeah, it's new stories. It's new stories. There's some reprints in there. There's some, but it's mostly new stories. They're like $5, and they're 100-page Giants. They're fucking awesome, dude.
There's got to be somebody out there listening to the show going, I thought this was a comic book show, because all Sal keeps talking about is what he's not reading.
Okay, we come to accept this. No, go run to your local comic book store and pick up any of the DC 100-page Giants. They're fucking awesome, dude. There's like 5 stories in each one, and they continue. They're fantastic. They're great. You get 5 different stories, 5 different creative teams. There's some reprints in there, but most of them, I don't know if they're all reprints. New to me. I haven't read, majority of them that are in there, and they're fucking entertaining as all get out. Really enjoying them.
Well, all right. Scooby-Doo. I think I got a Scooby-Doo 100-page Giant. I don't know.
I would love
the problem I have is like, I don't know. I have a problem with a lot of the way stuff is written these days in comics.
Well,
I just don't get into that
here's the
much.
thing though. There's so much out there
Oh
that if you
yeah.
don't like something, fucking move on.
No, and I was just like there's very few mainstream comics that I like that much anymore. And not that they're not good. I just they don't hook me. They don't
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit about Batman anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just don't I can't care about that character really deeply anymore. I just don't, give a shit. I don't care if Batman lives or dies. It's really hard for a writer to make me care if Batman's getting beat up by Bane again. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
just don't. That's just
Sure.
me though. I just don't. And that goes for most characters. Like I just don't find them engaging that much. As whereas I'd rather try and find something that I can get hooked with a character and give a shit about what a character's kind of doing.
I still walk into the comic shop, every week or 2 weeks, and I'll look at the comic shelves, and if I, and maybe I'm like a lot of comic fans now, if I see a new jumping on point, if they, tout something as like new storyline, I'll grab it. And if it's that might be Batman Beyond. I read 2 story arcs of Batman Beyond and really found it enjoyable. It was very popcorn, but it was enjoyable popcorn. But most of the time I'm going in there and looking for a new Image title.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Because I'd rather
Yeah.
I'd rather
I want to
jump
know
on
about
like
characters
paper.
that I don't know anything about.
Exactly. Paper
Yeah.
Girls or so, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
oh, here's a bunch of characters I don't know anything about and I want to find out what happens to them cuz I know it's like I know at the end of the day Batman's just kind of going to be Batman again. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like it's
and here's maybe an interesting twist on what we've talked about and noticed in comics in the last, like 5-8 years, is that there's been a big turnover in the character directions, and you see stuff like Harley Quinn and Spider Gwen and the Captain Marvel, and you're seeing a lot of new characters who are female for whatever reason. I think a lot of it's new. And it's like, oh, well, this is a new character, and part of it is predicated on their gender. But I think a lot of the appeal of it is, oh, well, it's not the same character I've been reading about for 20 years. I want to know what happens to this person because at least it's interesting. And I know at the end of 6 issues, it may not be the same thing. Yeah,
well, and I
probably
think
will be. But I
yeah.
think that is a little bit of a carrot, is that we have new characters to read about, and that's not a bad thing.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I'm not trying to shit on mainstream comics.
No, no,
They're
no,
not
no,
for me.
absolutely,
And I mean, we talked about
absolutely not.
this. We talked about this 15 years ago. Of like, I can distinctly talking about how I hope someday that mainstream comics are no longer written for me. And I'll be 49 next year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay if Batman and Superman isn't written for me anymore. Spider-Man or Spider-Girl or Gwenpool or whoever the fuck it is. I'm fine with it. It's great. If there are people enjoying it that are younger than me, great. If there are people that are my age that are enjoying it, great. I don't necessarily need any more of those stories. But that being said, like something that comes out, like I really enjoyed like Deceased, the DC 6-issue kind of thing, because that was like, oh, okay, it's just a little different take on those characters and the world, and maybe they're gonna die and there's something really tragic could actually happen to them in that story. I'm more interested in like something like that, or like Immortal Hulk, where it's like, oh, we're gonna completely redo this character. But I think going back to what you were saying is like, I think a lot of that, obviously, representation is a huge sort of buzzword that in not just comics and TV and movies and all media, people want representation. They want people that look like them and come from their backgrounds in these books and that kind of stuff. And I think people find that really important to them, and great. I think you're seeing that in comics for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the reasons that sort of leaves me engaged with these characters, is sometimes that sort of ends up being all that it's about to some degree. Like, I think like the next generation of kids that are enjoying TV shows and movies and that kind of stuff, like they're more interested in sort of a feeling than necessarily, like we were talking about with Watchmen, where I want to be challenged. I want a new perspective. I don't think.
Yeah, I think people want to be entertained. I think people want to be entertained, and there's nothing wrong with being challenged in your entertainment. But I think mostly people, and no, strike that. I think that people want to be entertained, but I don't necessarily think that a lot of people want to be challenged. I think a lot of people want to be passive and have things.
And don't get me wrong, there's certainly times where I just want to watch
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No. I'm not.
My wife has Law and Order SVU on like 4 hours a day in our house as background music. Drives me fucking crazy.
I get older,
because it's not challenging. You know,
as I get older, there's just like less of that I want. You know, there's certainly times of that, but there's just like less of. I just don't want to waste a whole lot of time necessarily with. I mean, there's definitely times that I do, but even like something as silly as a cartoon, like I want to watch Rick and Morty because it's like, oh, there's a bunch of complex thoughts in this cartoon that I can kind of pick apart and think about.
Adventure Time.
Yeah, it just depends how I want to spend my time.
By the way, do you have the DC Universe?
I do.
So, have you watched the new Harley cartoon?
I have not. Should I? I know you're in love with Harley now.
No, I'm not in love with Harley. I've just been reading Harley comics. I think she's an interesting character. So I turned this
very interesting for a sociopath.
Yeah, pretty much. So I turned this cartoon on and
immediately started masturbating.
Immediately dropped my pants and started masturbating. No, I was like, okay, this kind of looks and feels like a Bruce Timm cartoon. It kind of has that Tim verse feel to it. Huh?
That would be ironic.
Well, that's where she started.
No, I know, but does she look like that Harley, or does she look
to begin
like...
with? Yes, she does to begin with. And so they immediately start dropping F-bombs and blowing fucking people up, and so it is an animated show, kind of in a Bruce Timm style to begin with, kind of ish, but immediately they blow that shit up. And it's like I fear for the people that are sitting down with their like fucking 8-year-olds, and then Hartley is fucking dropping F-bombs and cutting people in half.
Well, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like, I think you see this, there's this weird schism where we're sort of seeing. I mean, Star Wars, the new Star Wars movie is out, and that whole. I haven't
seen it.
I have not seen it. I have not seen it.
Haven't seen it. Haven't heard any reviews. I'm all good.
Well, I mean, it's just sort of the whole thing between the people that liked Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And then now they kind of gave it back to J.J. Abrams, and he did the last movie because there was a lot of fans that didn't really care for Rian Johnson's Last Jedi.
Whatever. Tell your story.
No, yeah, I mean, Rian Johnson's a great filmmaker. I think they kind of gave him a shitty deal in sandwiching him between, this thing where there are a lot of fan expectations. But I think my point is, like, there's this weird thing where everybody wants to be a fan of this stuff and, like, be a part of it and feel like, like there's this group of Star Wars fans that want to be in Star Wars, but they hate Star Wars because it's not diverse enough. So they want it like reimagined. They want it broken down and redesigned and given back to them so that they can feel good about wearing Star Wars t-shirts.
Blah, blah.
You know what I mean? And well, no, I understand that. to a certain degree. I'm just saying, like, there's this weird thing, and I think you see the same thing in comics too. Like, it's like, oh well, Harley Quinn. We can't just have Harley Quinn be whatever she is. We have to kind of go back and destroy where she came from, because obviously that was wrong.
I don't think they've destroyed where she came from. I think
they blew up Tim Burton.
Well, they blew up the like afternoon Batman, Adventures of Batman comic version of her, because she's she's
what does that represent?
I don't know. I mean, it's an R-rated version, and it definitely merges with the movie version, that the cosplay version that we all see now. It's making her own person.
That's
whatever. For a fictional character. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
I just think it's interesting. I just think like there's this weird thing of like we want this. We want this in our lives so bad, but we hate it because it's not what we want it to be. It's this weird thing. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, the internet will never be happy, because you'll never because I don't know. It's like the Democratic Party. Everyone's looking for a unicorn, and it doesn't exist. And well, it's like the last Mad Max movie, right? It's amazing, strong female lead and it's girl power. And then people were like, oh, but it wasn't diverse enough. I'm sorry. It's fucking, Australia. Okay. It's sorry. It doesn't work that way. It will never be perfect. It will never be enough. It'll never be perfect, and that's okay. We need to strive for those things, and I understand that. But there's a point in our entertainment where
do we need to strive for those things?
No, yeah, we do need to strive for those things. But
because racism is bad.
Because racism is bad. But I think that you and I would agree with this. Is at the end of the day, you have to tell good stories.
Yeah, that's all I give a shit about. I mean,
do you need to be inclusive? Yes. Do you need to be aware and socially conscious? Absolutely, and those are important.
Maybe I don't know.
Yes, and at the end of the day, you need to tell a good story. And
at the beginning of the day, you need to tell a good story, and then if you can be inclusive and diverse also, then do that as well. But if you can't, if you can just tell a good story, just tell a good story. But you can do both for the most part. I just think the problem is that they're going from it at the beginning of the day, let's be diverse, and then how do we tell a good story? And that's where you run into a problem. You should start with let's tell a good story, and also let's try and
let's be inclusive and don't be a dick.
What is diversity? I don't even know. What is diverse? We're all red on the inside. So if we kill everyone, that's
that's where we are. And on that note,
Merry Christmas, everyone! Happy
Merry Christmas! It's a red Christmas. All right, are we good?
I think where
are we at? We about an hour-ish?
A little hour 20, maybe.
Hour 20. I think that people are tired of listening to us now.
They haven't listened to us for like 4 months. What are you talking about?
Well, we're gonna be back in like a week.
Oh, all right. Fine.
I mean,
if you're tired of me.
If you still need to talk to me,
no,
that's fine.
I don't have anything else to say.
Are you laying on the couch now? Tell me.
No, I'm sitting at my desk, looking at Hoopla for comic books I might read the first 3 pages of and then turn it off.
And then go to sleep. I have a couple of those. That's what's great about those 100-page giants. They're like
short stories.
Yeah, they're like little short stories. They're great. They're perfect for night time.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I can't read more than like 8 pages before I fall asleep. Sad. It's pathetic.
Yep. I agree. I understand. I'm gonna read a shit ton of comics over the next 2 weeks, though. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm not.
It's gonna be great. Enjoy it. Dive in.
I'm gonna
dive in.
I'm gonna probably play some video games. And
what are you playing?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Really?
That seems like
a big time suck.
It is, but that's I mean, that's my mindless entertainment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's when I.
Well,
I go,
I pretty much I wrung every bit of life out of The Witcher that I could.
I started watching that show on Netflix.
Oh, it's not good, but I can't stop watching it.
The first episode is awful.
Oh, it's terrible. It's fucking awful.
The second one was better.
It gets better. It's better, but they're all terrible.
They're not good.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
No, it's not good, but I can't stop watching.
I might be able to. I think I probably will stop watching.
It's only like 6 episodes.
That's 6 hours of life
Yeah.
I can't get back.
You know, yeah. No, they're not good. They're not good, but I'll watch them. I'll watch them anyway. What else? The Expanse. Did you finish watching The Expanse?
I never got past 3 episodes of The Expanse.
Well, you're wrong. You need to go back and watch all
that
those.
That show's fucking terrible. People keep telling me it's good.
It's fantastic.
It's awful.
It's fantastic.
No,
it's fantastic.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's awesome.
People don't know what you're talking about.
You need to lower your goddamn expectations on
Why?
shit.
Why should I do that?
Because you need to join the rest of the human race and just be happy with what you're given, young man.
Shit with dumb entertainment. Just here you go, spoon feed you dumb entertainment.
Sorry.
No, listen. It's
good. It's good. The Expanse is good.
Everybody tells me that, and then I go, well, when does it get good? And it's like, well, 3 seasons in.
Oh, it's not as bad as Fringe. You liked Fringe.
Yeah, I liked Fringe.
It took like 3 seasons for that show to get good.
I don't think so. I thought it was good from the beginning.
No, it took like 3 seasons for that shit to get good.
Like I said, I think I've watched.
Go watch Mindhunter. It's awesome.
Oh, I love Mindhunter. That's a great show.
That is a great show.
But that's a good writer and director.
Mm-hmm.
Expanse is sci-fi.
Are you a fan of Killing Eve?
I haven't watched it yet.
You should watch Killing Eve. You would dig that. Why
do you need me to watch the things that you enjoy? This is the problem with you hipster douchebags. Is you need.
That's why I do a goddamn podcast, Sal.
Is that why?
Yeah, I'm trying to spread the fucking gospel. You curmudgeonly old bastard.
No, I've heard good things.
Consume the things that I like.
Do you watch? I like the Marvelous Miss Maple.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I like that show.
Yeah, that's you just like it because of all the Lenny Bruce stuff.
You know, honestly, I think the guy who plays Lenny Bruce is very good. I'm not that big of a Lenny Bruce fan, to be honest. I respect Lenny Bruce for his place in stand-up comedy history, but as far as like a stand-up comedian, it's not like I'm going to sit down and listen to a bunch of Lenny Bruce stuff because it's a bit tedious. Especially as he got more and more in trouble, it just ended up being about his troubles, and
he's kind of like the Charlie Parker of stand-up comedians.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he changed the whole game he created stand-up really as we know it today. Like he was the guy that first went up there and just was like, I'm just going to talk about shit that I deal with and not like tell jokes. But no, I think Marvelous Miss Maples is just fun. I think it's just a fun show. That's a show like I don't need. Actually, I get annoyed whenever they sort of like wedge in the sort of a little bit of feminism and a little bit of like because they just do it so poorly. Of like, oh, by the way, it sucks being a woman. Or oh, it's horrible being black in this time period. It's like, yeah, I don't.
But it did.
I don't need I don't need this show to tell me that. I know that already. Like that's just.
But not everybody does. Down.
Yeah,
not
they do.
Everyone does. Not everyone does.
Listen, don't talk down to your audience like you're smarter than them or you know history more than them. People don't care. They know. They don't give a shit. I don't really care.
No, those are two different people. There are people that, yes, they know, and then there are people that don't give a shit. Those are two different people.
Listen, if you give a shit about how hard it was in the 1950s to be a woman, what possible point is there to that? In putting any energy into that today?
So we should ignore it.
No, I'm not saying ignore it. If that's what you want to talk about, then talk about that. but don't weekly sort of spoon feed someone that in the middle of a show about a female stand-up
how
comedian.
horrible it was to be a woman in the 50s.
What do you mean? That's not what that show is.
No one's going to watch a show that is dedicated to how horrible it was to be a woman in the 50s.
That's not true. I think you absolutely, if it's done well, people will watch anything. If something is done well, it's just when you half-ass it and try and like give me a moral lesson in the middle of your fucking stupid comedy show.
It goes back to the ham-fistedness of things where it's like,
it's just talking down to your audience too, thinking that you're going to sort of like teach me a lesson.
It's hard to do it subtly and
I'm 11 years old. You need to teach me that my history's bad. There's bad people in the world, and you need to know about it. We're not children. Quit talking to people like they're fucking children. Maybe that's our problem.
People are children.
No, they're not. See, that's arrogance. That's hubris. This is why people don't learn anything, because you talk to them like they're children, and like things that they don't know, and they know.
No, they're not. We're children.
I don't really give a shit if it was tough for a fictional Jewish princess in the 1950s.
But you're sitting here telling me you like the goddamn show.
I do like the show. I just said every once in a while they give you a little, hey, it's tough to be abroad. It's,
You know what you remind me of? You remind me of a 1950s Jewish princess.
Is that right?
Yes.
How so? Explain that.
It's you like something, and then you're going to spend 20 minutes telling me why you don't like it.
Well, that's definitely.
I think we found your inner spirit animal. You are a 1950s Jewish American princess.
I'm just trying to point out how things can be better. Don't we want things to be better? Or do we just want to glaze over everything and say, this is amazing?
We want everything to be better.
We want everything to be better, don't we? I'm just trying to tell people how they can make things a little better. Just make things better. Is that a crime? Is that bad? Is that evil of me? Make things better. That's all Hitler wanted. He just wanted to make things a little better.
Just be better. And we've gotten to Hitler, so we're done. God damn it. Love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Merry Christmas. Have a good holiday.
Happy New Year. Absolutely.
And come on down for New Year's. After New Year's,
No, you're going to come up and watch a Bucks game with your boy.
Oh, I'll bring up some lollipops and chocolate bars.
And watch some real fucking basketball.
Some real basketball. Oh,
I am totally on the bandwagon now.
Why would that shock me?
I am firmly on the Bucks bandwagon.
Whoa,
Giannis,
wow.
baby. I can almost say his last name.
If there's one thing about you, it's bravery in your choices of who to root for.
Yes. Go Bucks.
How about the Braves? Or how about those? What's the team? The baseball team? The Milwaukee Brewers. How about the Brewers? You a Brewers fan?
Brewers are fine. Dude, I'll always be a Cardinal fan. You know that.
I know.
The Brewers are fine. They're going to be, second or third place again this year.
The White Sox got Gio Gonzalez again. Finally.
It's for the third time.
Yeah. He's finally going to pitch now that he's over the hill and washed up.
Come home, young man. Come home and be our fifth starter.
Oh
and
my God.
Yes, and be mediocre. They're going to be fine. This is the year. The Sox turn the corner this year.
Year of
confident.
What?
Well, they got a catcher. They got a nice catcher.
Yeah, well, big deal. They don't have any pitching.
Fine. No, they have good pitching. They're going to be fine. This is the year. They're going to win the division.
Yeah. I thought the Bears were going to be good this year too. And
Bears are terrible.
Yeah,
Bears are awful. That serves you right for rooting for an NFL team.
I didn't. I don't root for any teams.
No, I know.
They're all
be
terrible.
a Milwaukee Admirals fan. It's great.
I don't even know who that is.
Nah, it's a minor league hockey team.
Oh, that's going to happen. That's what I need in my life.
Minor league hockey.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
The hottest game on ice.
Hey, that's a White Sox. Isn't that a White Sox? Wasn't it? An old Blackhawks.
Yeah, the hottest game on ice.
I think so. Yeah,
probably.
Marketing.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas to you.
You too.
Happy New Year. We'll be back right in the new year. I think Mr. Cater's is going to be joining us here in a week or so. We're going to talk about the Joker trade paperback, The Clown Prince of Crime.
I gotta read it. I gotta read it.
Read it. Read
will.
it. Some Elliot S. Magan and some
I always peruse the books.
Denny O'Neil. Some nice artwork. It's a lot of Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
And then I try and read it like the day of, just so it's fresh. in my
Yeah, you
mind.
can't do that with this one, man. It's like 1970s. They're very wordy.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's all right though. You can skip over some shit. It's pretty. It's pretty to look at. There's some Vince Coletta inks that really just make you want to, choke that motherfucker out.
I think he's dead. I don't think that.
Yeah, he's dead, but man, he killed some Jose Luis Garcia Lopez pencils.
Oh, that evil inker! How dare he? How dare he do a serviceable job when he was underpaid as an artist?
Yeah, he was calling hookers for Kirby, I think. Was it Kirby? No, who would he call hookers for? What's the stories? Is that he was the hooker?
I think you're besmirching a good man's name, unfounded. That's libelous. His estate, the Vince Coletta estate, may come after you, sir.
Terrible anchor. So yeah, we'll be talking the Clown Prince of Crime and some new comics in the new year. So yeah, everyone have a fantastic holiday. We'll be back. In the meantime?
In between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around. Crown.
God.
Racism is bad.
Racism is bad. Don't do that.
Ever.
Yeah.